Actor Alec Baldwin's attempt to have involuntary manslaughter charges against him dismissed was heard in court today. The charges stem from the fatal shooting on the set of the film Rust. The actor was indicted by a grand jury earlier this year for pulling the trigger of a gun that fatally struck 42-year-old cinematographer Helena Hutchins. We're joined by journalist Steve Futterman in Los Angeles, who's been following all of this. So, Steve, what more can you tell us about where things are at right now?
Well, Jacqueline, it was quite a heated hearing, I think a bit more heated than many of us expected. The attorneys for Alec Baldwin basically accusing the prosecution of being overzealous, unethical, and basically trying to stack the deck against Alec Baldwin. The prosecution was accused of not faithfully handling the grand jury which, of course, handed down the indictment. The prosecution was accused of not allowing the grand jurors to hear certain evidence that might be more beneficial to Alec Baldwin. It was basically, according to the defense attorneys, a one-sided hearing. Of course, grand jury hearings do have a one-sided aspect to them, but they say the prosecutors went over what they should normally do. Now, the prosecution responded saying the deck was not stacked against Alec Baldwin. They did not act unethically, and they said that basically there was evidence against him. They also pointed out to the judge that evidence presented before a grand jury is different from testimony presented to a regular jury. You can have hearsay evidence. That was one of the key issues in here. Now, the judge was very, very skeptical at times, it seemed, towards the prosecution. Now, she did not indicate exactly which way she will rule, but she did take the case under submission. She did indicate that she will issue a written ruling next week. Again, not trying to determine which way this will go, but she did have some very, very tough questions for the prosecution during today's hearing.
So, Steve, what would happen if this appeal is denied?
Well, if the appeal is denied, of course, Alec Baldwin can probably find other ways to appeal the cases. This is an American court, and, you know, there are many, many ways to appeal. They could find other ways to appeal. But if he runs out of appeals, his trial is set for July 9th in New Mexico. The trial would probably last a week or so. That's the estimate from all sides. This charge he faces, involuntary manslaughter, carries a maximum sentence of 18 months in prison. Now, you may recall the armorer on the film Rust was tried earlier this year. Her name is Hannah Gutierrez Reed. She was found guilty, and she's in prison now, having been found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. So we'll have to wait and see for next week's decision by the judge.